Hello, everyone, and welcome to day number 31 of the 40-day fast for marriages and families. Guys, can you even believe that we are now at day 31? Oh my goodness, this point seemed like such a far place off when we first started, but to God be the glory. And as always, I thank you guys for sticking in this process, not just sticking in the process with me. I'm grateful that you all are sticking in the process for yourselves, for your marriage, and for your family. Listen, and I've said this so many times, if you ever find yourself stuck, if you ever find yourself stuck in a place, guess who has the power, who has the right, who has the authority and the dominion to unstuck you? You do. God has given you all of that, all of the dominion, all of the power, all of the authority that you need to unstuck yourself. So he's given you, even if you don't realize it, God has already given you everything that you need for hope and healing to be activated, to be realized in your life, in your family, and in your marriage. So as always, I'm grateful. I thank God. Guys, go up top, click on that send email button. We still want to hear from you. We want you to continue sending your praise reports, your celebrations, even if there's something specific that you want us to pray with you concerning, guys, send that over to us. We're praying for you all every single day without ceasing. So I am happy that you all are joining us and that you are continuing on this path. Don't give up. Don't quit. You are too close to the end to quit. A lot of times what happens in life is we start out running, and we're running well. And then we kind of slow up. And not only do we kind of slow up, but sometimes we actually quit right before we win. I don't want any of you to be that person, to be that marriage, to be that family that quit, that threw in the towel right before you win. Keep going to the end. And even once it's over, if these 40 days end and you have not seen what you thought you would see, I always say this to you. It's taking place underground. It's taking place underground in the hidden places that you can't see. It's taking place in your heart. It's taking place in their heart. So you can't see, you may not see the change until all of a sudden one day, just like a plant peeps up from the ground, you see the harvest peeping up from the ground. Every seed produces a harvest. And what you're doing here, you are sowing, you're planting that seed for the harvest of hope, for the harvest of healing to spring forth. And it shall spring forth. Don't give up. Don't quit. Do not give up. Do not quit. All right? Well, today is day number 31. And what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about giving. Yeah, we're going to be talking about giving. We're going to be talking about giving and investing. Giving and investing. And why at this particular stage it is so important. There are a lot of marriages that are experiencing, a lot of marriages and families, a lot of people, who are experiencing financial struggles, financial hardships. And it's almost like if it's not one thing, it's another. Something's constantly going on. As soon as you think you're making progress forward, something happens and you're taking 3 steps backwards. And a lot of times we know that there are people around us constantly, always in need. And sometimes when we see people in need, we think, oh God, well, I don't have anything to give them. I wish I could give them, but I'm in the same place they're in. I'm in the same place they're in. And we think that we don't have something to offer. We don't have something to give. And a lot of times, the reason we think that we don't have something to offer or something to give is because that thing that we have to give, it's not what we would consider sufficient. It's not what we would want to give. Like if somebody, I don't know, somebody's hungry and maybe we don't have enough money to buy them, maybe we don't have $5 to buy them a value meal or whatever, whatever. And so we don't give because we don't have enough to give, or we think that what we have isn't sufficient. Sometimes that will keep us from giving. Always, at every single occasion, you always have something to give. Now, what you have to give, it may not be the same thing that somebody else, that the family down the street or the marriage down the street or the person down the street, might be able to give. But every single thing that you give, when you give it from your heart, and matter of fact, and let's back up a little bit. If I have $1 million to give, but I give that $1 million grudgingly, meaning I'm like, man, shoot, I don't want to give this, and I give it with an attitude. I give it from a funky heart, from a stinky heart, from a rotten heart, and the person has to pry the money basically out of my hand or whatever it is that I'm giving. They have to pry it out of my hand because I don't want to let it go. Do you know, even though I give $1 million, I might as well have just given 1 penny. Because anything that we give, whether it's money, whether it's our time, whether it's our talent, whether it's our gift, whatever it is that our wisdom, our knowledge, the things that we understand, the things that we're good at, whatever we give to somebody else, if it's coming from a stinky heart, listen, then there's really no point in giving it, because we devalue whatever we have given, no matter how much it is. That $1 million that I gave with a stinky heart, I could have very well given a penny. Same difference. Same difference. And if someone with a clean heart, with a cheerful heart, gives 10 cents, but they gave it out of that place of happiness, out of that place of love, out of that place of joy, do you know that 10 cents in the eyes of God matters more than my $1 million matters? God says, I love a cheerful giver. And when he says, I love a cheerful giver, he didn't say, well, I love the cheerful giver who's able to give $10. Or I love the cheerful giver who's able to give, $1 million. No, he doesn't set an amount. Matter of fact, he doesn't even set what it is that we're given. He says, but the person who gives of themselves willingly, I'm talking about, I don't have to twist their arms. I don't have to browbeat them. I don't have to threaten them to give. He says that person that gives in that manner, oh, you don't know, your $10 given in a cheerful way has just multiplied in the hand of God to $1 billion. I mean, like, that's the kind of impact the place that you give from makes. So I just want to encourage you today. We're talking about giving and we're talking about investing. There are so many marriages around us, so many families around us, so many lives around us that are in need. One way or another, they're in need. And sometimes we walk by them. We continue to do life as we do life, thinking that what we have to offer them doesn't matter. It's not much. But what you have to offer, when you offer it from a place of love, from a place of joy, from a place of cheerfulness, that's a seed that you have planted, and the harvest cannot even be measured. But a seed, no matter how great that seed is, no matter the potential that seed has, like that $1 million seed that I sow, if I sow that seed from a stinky heart, from a stinky place, that is the same as a seed that you put in the ground and nothing ever grows from it. So what am I talking about with giving? I may have one thing to give, but somebody else may have something else to give. Whatever God has given you to give, and that can be your time. Do you know that you can sow your time into other people's life? You can sow your wisdom. There are people, the Word of God says, "My people perish for the lack of knowledge." There are people that are walking. There are marriages that are trying to exist, trying to cope, but there's no direction or no guidance, no light in the place that they're able to see. Sow your light into their lives, into their marriage. Sow your wisdom into somebody else's marriage. And you might be saying, well, I'm not perfect. Our marriage is not perfect. Sow what you know is right into somebody else's life. And don't feel like, well, they're hard-headed, they're this, they're that, so I'm not going to waste my time. All right, well, don't waste your time, because time is a precious commodity, and I would never encourage anybody to waste their time. But do you know, once we make all the excuses, whether those excuses are valid or whether they're not valid, here's my point. Do you know the one thing that you have, that no matter what the response is, as long as you do it from a place of love, of joy, of cheerfulness, of willingness, of humility, that will always prosper. Sow prayers into somebody's marriage that's struggling. Meaning, take their marriage up under your wings in prayer. Do you know how much it doesn't cost you anything to pray? I mean, not a red cent. It doesn't cost you anything to pray. Nothing. It doesn't cost any of us anything to pray. Take somebody's marriage, take somebody's family, and cover them, sow into their lives with prayer. You may not have the money, you may not have the time, you may not have what you think is the energy, or you may not have the whatever, fill in the blank. But what you do have, you have the tool of prayer. Sow prayer into somebody's marriage. Cover their marriage in prayer. Cover their family in prayer. Like every day. Make that your giving. Make that a part of your giving. And for those who are able to do more, those who are able to take them up under your wings and instruct them and teach them and train them and be patient with them and watch the progress happen, then you do that. But the one thing that all of us can do, no matter where your marriage is at, no matter where your marriage is at, and you may be watching this video thinking, girl, do you know how broken my stuff is? So why am I going to, child, God ain't about to answer my prayers for somebody else when my stuff broken, stinks, messed up, and just, done fell all to pieces. Listen, what you make happen in somebody else's life, God will make happen in yours. You know that thing that you need most? Give it to somebody else. And watch God make that thing happen in your life. Man, there is so much more to this process than we'll ever know. So much more to this process than we'll ever know. Sometimes we can become so focused on what's going on in our home, what's going on in our marriage, in our life, in our family, that we forget that there are others who are worse off than we are, that we can lend a helping hand to. And don't allow your mind to be, oh, well, they're not going to hear me, they're not going to receive me. It's not for them to receive your prayers. They're not the ones responsible for answering your prayers. No, you're not praying to them. No, you're praying to the one who can, and the one who can intervene. You may not have the power to open their eyes and to get them to see the wisdom in what they should be doing versus the error of their ways. You, by yourself, you don't have that kind of power. We don't have that kind of power. We can't just tape somebody's eyes open and say, see what I'm saying. I mean, we might want to do that sometimes, but it doesn't work like that. But what you have, what you do have, the power that you do have, even if your stuff ain't all together, the power that you do have is the power of prayer. And if you have nothing else, and after you go through all of the why you shouldn't do it, and you consider yourself as having nothing, I have nothing that I can contribute to marriages and to families, and seeing them strengthened and seeing them better, seeing them rise up to the level that God has called them to. After you have gone through a million and one excuses as to why you can't contribute, why you can't give. You can always give, and you can always sow prayer into that marriage, into that life, into that family. And prayer is not predicated. Prayer is not dependent. Prayer is not dependent upon the person that is being prayed for. No, because that person has nothing to do with the answer from prayers that's prayed. They have nothing to do with it. And this is something that I've always said. When you pray for somebody else, where does the change happen first? Not in the person that you're praying for. So if you are one who decides, well, that is something that I can do. Yeah, this may be going on in my life, in my home, in my marriage, in my family, or whatever. But my girlfriend, her and her husband, they're going through, their tough time. So I'm going to make it my business. I'm going to take responsibility and carry their marriage in prayer. And this isn't anything that you have to tell your girlfriend about, or your best friend, or your coworker, or whoever it is, whoever's marriage it is. This isn't something that you have to share with them or anything like that. But when you decide to sow into somebody else's life, I mean, this is just a matter of principles. You can't do for somebody else and God not respond to you in your situation. The word of God in Luke 6:38 says, give. It doesn't tell us what to give. It doesn't tell us what to give. It doesn't tell us how much to give. It just says give. And it shall be given to you. When you pray for somebody else's marriage, when you intervene in somebody else's life in prayer, oh, you're given. You are given. You are giving. And the word says give, and it shall be given back to you. So, and when you pray, what you're giving is you're giving hope. You're giving healing. Isn't that the same thing that this fast is for? So when you pray for somebody else, somebody else's marriage, somebody else's family, you're giving hope and you're giving healing into that situation. And the word of God says, and that same thing shall be given back to you. So hope shall be given back to you. Healing shall be given back to you. And not just given back to you, but in good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Listen, as long as you're willing to sow, and you can sow prayer, as long as you're willing to sow, God will always give seed to the sower. You are never without something to sow into somebody else's life. And I don't know how many things are actually bigger than prayer. I mean, think about that. Prayer might seem like a really small nugget, like, oh, that's so insufficient. Like, I'd prefer to just sow like $1 million, but I don't have $1 million. But what you do have is prayer. Don't wait until you're able to sow what you want to sow. No, take that little seed of prayer, plant it in the ground of somebody's marriage. Watch it bloom. And not only are you going to enjoy the bloom from it, but you're going to start seeing stuff, blessings, start raining down on your head. Just start raining down on your head, raining down on your marriage, on your family, on your life, like you've never known. That's what happens when we're not selfish. Look, God can do so much when we're not selfish. And we're not just thinking about me, mine, and mine. Guys, give, invest in somebody else's future, in somebody else's present, because that's what you're doing. And you're making the change. You're making the difference, not just in their life, but you're causing that change to happen in your life. In good measure, pressed down, running over, shaken together. Guys, this is day 31. I love you all. I will see you back on day 32.